welcome to another episode of Talk with Renee Dallow. It is me, your host, Renee Dallow. This week, I am joined by the lovely and fabulous Judy Wilkins-Smith, here to talk about money mindset, abundance, all those things that you every year make resolutions or goals to do. That's why Judy's here. Judy's here to talk about all this. And honestly, this is one of my pet topics. Like, I love talking about this because I had to do a lot of work myself on this when I became an entrepreneur. And I didn't even know that was going to be something I had to address. But as I progressed in my business, I was like, oh, I have a lot of money problems, like mindset problems, you know? So how did you come to this work for yourself?
Well, the work itself was a question of my dad being killed and me starting to write books, because it was either write books or go insane. And I decided writing books was probably a better idea. And I stumbled onto it while I was writing one of the books. I stumbled onto this particular branch of work, and somebody said to me, come study the work with me and I'll help you with a book. So I went and studied the work and got zero help, may I say, with the book. Yep. However, what it did was I started working with people in the systemic work and constellations arena. And then they said to me, can you coach executives? Well, executives are kind of people too. So that was the next step. And then they said, okay, can you problem solve in 3D for companies? And of course you can. So I got into the organizational side of it as well, and then became an executive coach. And I'm really lucky because I coach some of the top C-suite executives around the world. And I have a lot of fun doing it because they are, in essence, people with families and multiple generations. And people will often say to me, they're not going to tell you their stories. And I said to them, they all want to tell their stories because they understand, as good leaders, that their team can only go as far as they can go. And so, that's how I got into that. And then with money, long story short, I went for a money walk. And I make all my clients do money walks now. So I went for a money walk and discovered that money is not an inanimate object and it's not a commodity, it's a relationship. And the way you show up for it is the way it will show up for you.
So for those listening, I mean, listen, I've talked about money mindset over the years on the show. We're in year 4 of this podcast. That blows my mind. I can't even believe it.
I love it.
But when we talk about, right? I mean, because I think it's a conversation that it's work that is ongoing, right? Because it's almost like new level, new devil, right? Like you uncover something, you uncover a block or a relationship that you're like, that doesn't work anymore. Let's throw it out. And then something else bubbles up, right? So
right.
Why is our relationship with money so critical in being able to manifest more abundance?
Because it's flow. Money is a teacher of flow. It's an adventure. It really isn't this big monster that we make it out to be. It's rather lovely. It's a good friend. It's a wise mentor. It's also not a commodity. It's spiritual flow. Once you understand that money is magic and money is flow, things start to happen differently. But don't forget, 99% of us are battling the meta patterns of money doesn't grow on trees. You can have love or money. You can have education or money. You can have anything you want or money. And poor old money sits there and gets a bad rap. It's not the truth. Money is an and, not an or. So that's one thing to know about it as well. And then I started teaching. I actually made an agreement with money after I went on the money walk. And I said, I'm going to teach you to people in a way that inspires them to really be good friends with you and not to villainize you. And so I've been on a bit of a campaign for that one for a while. I did Money DNA at Disney World. I did an event in November, and I gave everybody a book to start teaching them the money mindset. You'll have seen versions of this, I'm sure, I know, but I made mine, which is the 1 to 100, where you've got to put in $1 the first day, $2 the next day, $3 the next day. Yes. So I made one for each of my people, because what they do is they tell you you should do that, and at the end you'll have $5,050, which is true, but that's only half the story. The real story is on the way there, you're going to start understanding that money is an adventure. You're going to start understanding that you can, not you can't, you can. You'll find all the places where you waste money because you don't want to do that. You want to put it in that little slot or envelope. And so it creates this kind of happiness around money. And of course, so I did it for
Yeah.
this group, and now I can't stop because I keep getting requests for the ones that I made, which wasn't the intention, but there you go. But money is
Yeah.
an amazing creature, and when I say it'll show up for you the way the way you show up, I
Yeah.
will tell you one of my money mind stories. I only realized after the money walk that I'd loved money since I was very little. I would pick up seeds because I knew that if I gave mom seeds, they would multiply. So that idea was already bubbling. Or bottle tops because they were steel, or bottles and trade them in because you got pennies and you could buy candy and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, so, and then as the world came in and I grew up, I began to take on some of those mindsets and some of the
Yeah.
mindsets of my ancestors. Be careful, watch out, it's going, you get it, you lose it. And it was like, whoa, this is not helpful. So I had to have a reorientation. But I think one of my favorite stories about myself and money was I went to the casino, and my grandmother, at least my mother-in-law, took us. And I had her pot of coins and my pot of coins. And I took 3 coins out, put them in, and hit the jackpot, which we could really, really have used because we didn't have a lot back then. So
Yeah.
then I realized with this absolute sinking feeling, I'd taken them out of the wrong pot. It was her pot. Now here's where it
Oh,
gets interesting. The systemic sentence, which is what we say about things, in my family was honor and truth above everything. So I go over
oh,
to her and I say, hey, this is what happened. So I guess the jackpot's yours. And she says, oh, thank you, and takes it. And everybody goes, oh, that's mean. And I said, it's not mean. She had a good relationship with money. I was chasing it away every way I knew how to, and it couldn't get near me. It was only when I went on the money walk and I started rewiring all of those sentences, because there's a process to rewiring as well. If you keep just saying
yeah.
something, that's fine. If you keep just thinking it, that's fine. It's a nice brain exercise. You've got to tie it to a higher emotion and a purpose, and it's got to hit your heart and your gut. And I'll explain it this way. You do something
Yeah.
really not smart. You say to yourself, oh, I'm so stupid. And your heart closes, and you can feel your gut tighten. You've just aligned completely negatively. If you do the same thing positively, you get a very different result. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's what I teach people to do with money. We have a look at where it began, how it's affecting you.
Talk about the money walk because you've mentioned it a couple of times, and I want to be sure that people understand what that is.
Oh, okay. So money walk's the walk I tell everybody to take when they're starting out with the whole money adventure. And I warn them you need to go and take this where nobody else can see you because they're going to think that you've lost it. You're going to talk to money. So you go out above the Hollywood Hills or wherever it is, provided it's not raining like it is now, and you start walking and you talk to money. You tell it all your thoughts, your feelings, your actions around it, your fears, your biggest dreams, and you really have a conversation with it. And then you ask it, so what can I do to become a better friend to you? And what can I do so that you will stay? And then start paying attention. We don't
Yeah.
notice how often money comes to play with us. I say, Renee, I'm taking you to lunch. That's money talking.
Oh,
You walk,
100%.
yep, you walk into the shop and somebody says, oh, what a happy smile. Here, have a candy. That's money talking. And we don't always realize it's trying very hard to play with us. But we're so afraid that God's going to hit us with a piece of 2x4 that we all rather crawl under the bushes and say, I'll just have a little bit here. And so we have just a little bit here.
Yeah. How do we identify, like you said, these inherited money beliefs? Like, how do we know if it's not ours, but something that was given to us?
Well, your best way to know that is to actually write down, sit down and write down everything that you think, feel, and do around money. and your biggest frustration, sadness, that big emotion that you have around money. Fear. When did it start for you? What was happening in your life at the time? And how is it affecting you now? And then you want to ask yourself, does anybody else in the family have a similar pattern? Now, some people don't have their family history. So, what I do is I say, then timeline your own, because you will begin to see the patterns. And then you ask yourself two questions: what wants to stop, and what's trying to start? And when you've got that thing that says, oh, I wish, wishes are wonderful things if we pay attention. They're really telling us
Yeah.
where our purpose wants to be. So, what has to stop is going to irritate, frighten, or make you sad. What wants to start becomes a heart wish. And when you say yes to the heart wish and you invest enough intention into it and purpose, it becomes stronger than your need to stay where you are now. And it overcomes those sentences.
Yes. I'm looking and thinking of my own timeline, like, yep, yes, yes, those are all true. I think sometimes when we talk about this, when we've talked about it on the show, I've gotten some emails that are like, yeah, but you can't blame your parents for everything,
And
right? That's like,
they're quite right because,
and you
yeah.
can't.
No, at some point, you've got to actually take responsibility for you. And by the way, the purpose of
Yeah.
parents and patterns. So let's talk about that. The purpose of parents and patterns is for the parents to bring the patterns so that you either identify with them and repeat them, or you identify with them and increase them if they're good, or you look at them and say,
Mhm.
I am not doing that, and you change it. But any way you look at it,
Yeah.
your parents are responsible for your success, either in collusion with or reaction to.
That's true. That's true. And I think sometimes, in the way we live our lives, at least this is my story, is I'm able to look at things in my family, patterns in my family, uh, that are not financial, and go, nope, didn't want any of that. Not going to do
There
that at
you go.
all. Right.
Exactly.
And the thought that we can also do that with money is such an interesting thing to bring to the conversation, because it isn't just like, well, and I know this is probably true for a lot of people in my family. There was addiction. I never even put a toe into that path ever, because I
Right.
knew that's in my DNA, right? I'm predetermined or predispositioned to have that. So I'm just gonna not do that at all. And
Absolutely.
I'm doing great. Same thing with money. If you identify it, you can go, okay, well, my whole family does it this way. I don't want to do it. I'll pick this other path. And it's very powerful to know that we can choose that for the most part.
It really is. And it's not just pick another path. Give yourself a goal at the end of that. It really makes a difference. I want to
Yeah.
see money grow incredibly. Okay, but what do you want to do with it? For me,
Right.
one of my
Right.
first ones was, and you'll see my little medallion, but one of my first ones
Yeah.
was one day, I want to have timeshare at Disney. And so what I did was every time I
Mm,
got extra from somewhere or something flowed in, I put that into the Disney envelope. I can't
yeah.
tell you what it was like to put down the down payment and then be able to pay it off and take my family to Disney in the luxury section and walk out of there going, done. It was, but it was an adventure and it kept me so invested. There were times when I'd get miserable or disillusioned or disheartened and go, there's an envelope out there. We have to fill that envelope.
I love that. I mean, honestly, get the goal being Disney is so much the embodiment of like money is the good guy, not the evil guy. Like Disney is so happy and joyous, like flowing, like having that money flow to that goal is like such a great
Oh,
thing.
it was,
Why do you think as a society we have so much about money being evil?
I think we were duped into it way, 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 way back. I think
Me too.
you probably had somebody who did something naughty with money, and everybody said, you see, money equals evil, bad. Because I have people come to me all the time and they say, I want to get rich. And I say, okay, so tell me about wealth and rich people. Oh, they're greedy, they lie, they cheat, they steal, they're awful. And I
Right.
say, oh, so you want to be
Right.
greedy, a liar, a cheat, and a thief and be awful? Well, no.
Right.
Then why do you suppose they are? And if they are, why would you want to be that? So you just nixed the dream right there. Stop. Money likes to be liked.
Yes.
It likes it a lot.
Oh, I love that. Money likes to be liked. This is also my theory on like TV shows, media. There's that really popular TV show Succession, about the very wealthy family and how
Right.
horrible they were. And my husband and I were watching it, and I loved the show. I just thought it was like a masterpiece of just like drama and whatever. And my husband sort of turned to me and he was like, "See, rich people." And I was like, "No, no, 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 no,
Ah,
no, we're not doing that in this house. We're not doing that." And
good.
he goes, "Why?" I go, "Because that's what they want you to think. That's what they want you to
It's
think. They want you to go,
exactly
oh, I
what
don't
they
ever
want
want to
you
do
to
that.
think.
I don't want to be those
No.
people."
But
Mhm.
think of rich people, think of Rockefeller, think of the Rothschilds, who have reputations for doing terrible things, but we're awfully glad to take their endowments and grow schools and colleges and all sorts of things. How do we think that happened without money?
Yeah, it's
And
true.
they, or else I have people who
It's
say,
true.
well, you should give to the others and you shouldn't charge them, and you should never charge people who are less than you. No, not true, because money is also all about balance of give and receive. If you look at the Grameen grants,
Yes.
those for the women, they're so proud
Hmm.
to pay them back and pay it forward. They've got their worth, they've
Yes.
got their purpose. And your purpose can be as
Yes.
big as you want. Don't let anybody put you off your money purpose, ever.
I love it. You know what my one of my big money dreams is? I want to have
Tell
enough money to be able to invest in a Broadway show.
Oh, I love that. See, now that's a dream worth going for. It really is. Why not? If that's what you want to
Why
do, why not? It's everybody who's done that started where you were and said, you know what I want to do? And then they did it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what?
I just think it because I used to be a performer, and so I just think it would be so it's such like part of my life story to be like, oh, well, now that I'm wealthy and I can really gamble that money because Broadway shows don't always recoup their investment, as everyone
Right.
knows. So it really is like a one day, right? One day in the hopefully near future, I'll be able to do that.
I love that. I
Yeah.
see now that is going to keep you so engaged, having stated that. You're going to have that envelope or
Yeah.
that account or whatever it is, and that money is going in there. And then what you've got to do is you've got to give it the best chance to succeed possible. So you're going to go out there and find the very best undiscovered talent. I mean, I'm sure you've seen on America's Got Talent, Lauren, and I've forgotten, yes, Allred. I get goosebumps every time I
Yes.
watch that audition. I think it's amazing. And and this is, if you watch America's Got Talent, you actually see people move into their zones. And what we
Hmm.
then realize, or get, that people don't realize, is that when you get goosebumps, you're sensing into somebody's system, which is what constellation work is. We're very able to do that. We just don't realize that we're able to do that, but we do it every day. That's what you call
Yeah.
chemistry.
Yes. Yeah. I never thought about it that way. That's excellent. That is really excellent. How do we? Because I know that our brains. We all know about the neural pathways in the
Right.
brain. They're well worn. What is your advice for someone who's like, "Ah, I'm in this, and I know, I need a new way of thinking." How do we get there? How do we even start?
Your first way is to write down the way it is and what's not working. And then you write down, and
Mm,
that's thoughts, feelings, actions. And then the next one is the way I want it to work. Plus, if you look at your
yeah.
family system, what is it that I'm here to change or to add to? That's a very big one. And then you want to look at, so what's a goal like yours sounds, somebody might say to you, are you kidding me? That's impossible. And you're going, don't tell me something's impossible, because it's not,
Yeah.
and it has to be bigger than you. So for somebody to move, what they've got to do is then say what I really want, and then listen, because you'll get all of the little naysayers popping up. Now, those little naysayers are not your inner thoughts, they're your multi-generational thoughts. We couldn't, we
Yeah.
couldn't, we couldn't, we couldn't. How do you think you can? And your job is I can and I am. And it's then to sit down and say, this is what I want. And if you're one of those people who says, well, I don't know what I want, start knowing what you want. I don't care if you begin with
Yeah.
chocolate or vanilla. Pick one and start knowing what you want. Because the more you know what you
Yes.
want, the more your purpose has a chance. And when you go for it and nobody can get in your way, you will get there.
Yeah. I also have noticed in my own life, uh, when I'm in a more scarcity mindset,
Mhm.
I often don't. I don't really I'm not like immediately awakened to that, right? I'm sort of in it, and then I can almost look back and go, oh, that's why I was so feeling,
Right.
fill in the blank. And then once I can see it, which sometimes takes me a little longer than I'd like, I'm a little frustrated about that, to be honest, then I can go, okay, let's new mindset. Because I think sometimes I'm going to say the bigger we, but I mean me. A lot of our habits or thoughts are habits, right? They're things that this tape that plays in our brain, and I think first we have to tune into like,
When
what am I saying to
Yes, what am
myself,
I
right?
saying to myself is really good. Am I doing trash talk or transformation talk? Which one's happening?
Yep.
If I'm trash talking, I
Yep.
should pay attention because I need to see where that came from and what's trying to stop.
Yeah.
If I'm doing transformation
Yeah.
talk, I'm actually keying into creative brain, frontal lobe, and I need to go with that because all of those lovely hormones, that biology, the love hormones and the happy hormones are going to start bubbling. Go with it.
Yes.
Don't.
100%. 100%. Because part of the thing that I think kills it sometimes is I'm going to say my big audacious goal, and someone goes, how? How are you going to do it? And I really believe sometimes we don't need to know the every single step of the how. Sometimes you just have to believe that you will,
That's it. You've
and
got
then
to
things
know
open up.
yep, you've got to know that you're not that you will, know that you're doing it. You've chosen it and you're
Yes.
doing it. If you know you've chosen it and you're doing it, the rest doesn't matter. It doesn't. You will
I know.
figure it out.
And when you say this, I believe you, Judy, because I've seen it in my life, but I know that there's people listening that are like, "Pff, all right." But I'll tell you, like last year in LA, there was a huge writer's strike, right? And then there was a
Yes.
producer's strike, and my husband works in the movie industry. So there was a significant part of last year where he was not working.
Oof.
Um, and I fell into a little, I fell into a scarcity mindset because we had to really watch every nickel and dime, which is not our usual
Sure.
way. We're usually a lot more free with things. Or I don't want to say free, but like we have a lot of ease normally in that
Right.
area. And I found myself at the end of the year looking back on the year and like, oh gosh, I need to shake it off. So I did a lot of work in January about, goal setting and meditation and just journaling and figuring out what I wanted for the year. And I'll tell you, there was a day in January where I said, I sort of put a foot down for myself, mentally. And I said, this is what I want.
Right.
This is what I'm going to do. And I shit you not, the very next day I got an email with an opportunity that paid money that was out of the blue.
Yep. Oh
Exactly.
yes, money will do that for you and with you all the time. It absolutely will. You've got to talk to it. And that's the other thing I make my clients do, talk to money. When last did you say, thanks, money, I got to switch the lights on? Thanks, money, because of you, I got to put gas in the car. When last did you thank money? You
Yes.
want it to be a friend and then you don't want to talk to it. Oh, it's not about the money. Why is it not about the money? Are you kidding me? It's not about the money. Money is flow. Stop. It's very
Yeah.
much about
Yeah.
money. Money has a
I also
soul.
had another,
It's not a bad soul.
oh, 100%. And I also think for an entrepreneur like myself in the wedding space, I send out proposals several times a week. That's part of the job, right? And so in theory, I'm pitching my services to someone and that comes with a price tag attached. And last week, my associate planner and I met with this couple. They're getting married in a month. I mean, it's the shortest timeline in the world. And they said we don't really have a lot of money, but and right away I was like, oh, okay. So I gave them a proposal that I thought was a really good deal, to be honest. And they said, can you discount it? I had to
And
get up from the computer. I had to get up and like do a lap because I was like, it already is discounted. And I wrote back to them and I basically, long story short, like stood up for us. And I said, this is what it is. There is no discount. This is why it is what it is. And I sent it with the knowledge that they probably weren't going to go for it. And then 10 minutes later, they booked. Because sometimes I think when we're in this relationship with money, right? If you're in a scarcity mindset, you probably would have said, okay, fine, I'll give you $200 off. Let's just get it done. And granted, I just wasn't, I'm not in that place this year. So there was no way they were getting a discount. But I think sometimes when we're pushed and we push back a bit, I think money is like, okay, well, they're not playing around. She's not playing around.
well,
Just pay
there's
her what
another
she's
piece
worth.
to that. When they push you to give for less and you push back, you're also saying, this is what I'm worth. And that's really
Yeah.
important. And money goes, yes, she stood up for me. You're not just standing up for you, you're
Yeah.
standing up for money. You're saying to money, you belong with me. And that's a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just going to say, I
What
think so many of us that are running businesses are just afraid of money because we're always
yes,
afraid that the next job won't come.
exactly, exactly. And for me, I learned about money and pricing when I was tendering for a position as an executive coach. First time ever. I didn't know because they don't tell you. It's all kind of. So I tendered for the position
Yeah.
and they
It's
said,
true.
sorry, you didn't get it. And I went, oh, I'm sorry. Was it too much? And she said, no, it was too little. So we realized you must not be a top coach. And I went, ooh, okay, lesson learned. So when people go into whatever it is where they're doing handling money, I say to them, please go and look around, see who's the top in your city, what do they charge, and you can, if you want to, price just under it, but no more than that, because otherwise your reputation's not worth anything. What are you doing? Have a good
100%.
value add and go for it.
Yeah, 100%. I love that so much. That happens a lot in the speaking world. I'm a public speaker as well. And I found when I go outside of the wedding industry to bid myself on speaking, it's a totally different world. And I didn't know, much like you with I just didn't know. And so the feedback was just like, well, she must be new. Like, no, no, I've been doing this for years and years. But the pricing seemed like I must be new. And I just didn't have the awareness. Now I know better.
Yes.
Now I know better.
Yes, this happens a lot. So the value you put on yourself is the value that people perceive, and that's dangerous. That's like me walking in and saying to somebody or to a doctor, "Hey, I'm really not feeling good. I've got pain on the right hand side. Would you look?" Yeah, I think you've got appendicitis. I'll tell you what, we'll do it for you next week, and it's going to cost you $5. Are you going to that doctor? I'm not going to that doctor.
No, I'm definitely not going to that
No.
doctor. Judy, in your life, do you have any, I'm going to use the word habits, but I don't really mean it's habits or rituals or anything that is like recurring for you that speaks to the abundance mindset?
I think I have a couple of things. First of all, it's called Figure It Out. So that's one. Number two is
Yeah.
I'm very, very aware of money and where it's going and where it's flowing. Oh, I will tell you one, and it's a very well-known one, but it's an important one. Pay yourself first. So, yeah,
Yes.
where do I want my money to be so that if something happened, I'd be fine? So pay myself first and then look at, okay, what does the rest of the budget look like? And I
Hmm.
am very, very aware of that and very careful with it. And I do not overspend. The other thing that I do that somebody remarked on the other day is if I'm going to buy something nice that I want, I will only buy it if I know it will appreciate in value. I'm not interested. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm not interested. I collect a couple of things, and I will only buy them if I know this is going to appreciate in value. Otherwise, I'm
interesting. Right away, my brain goes to like, I love purses. Purses are my
oh,
thing. And I'm like, well, all of my purses are going to get more expensive.
and that's
Like
true.
all of my very
And
expensive
that's
purses
exactly,
get more
you
expensive
know,
with
that's
age.
exactly right. If you're going to buy something, buy the best that you can with the amount that you've got in a way that can appreciate.
I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. I haven't heard that from anyone before. There's a very simple thing that I started doing years ago when I was in that place of like, I got to figure out what I'm doing about money. I used to avoid my bank accounts.
Oh, lots of
I
people
used
do
to,
that.
so many of my own coaching clients have admitted to me, like, well, I don't really know what's in there. And now I check my accounts every single morning.
Yes.
And you know what? And to be fair, I found a lot of errors that way. So it actually is very, very practical, but also I need to know. It's like, I just need to know where it is, where it's going, the flow of it. I need to just watch it. I need to watch it.
Yes, and also
Yeah.
don't be scared to invest. I mean, we're sitting at a moment where if
Mm.
you've got money you can save or put away, it can be invested at a really good rate. I have a number of clients who said to me, "No, no, we just keep it in our checking account," and I'm like,
Oh
"Do you have
no.
any idea how much you're saying no to right now?" Right now. You're saying no to money that you could do things with or that you could build up. Be very careful about
Yes.
studying where money can grow and where it can flow. And yes, you don't want to go and be an idiot and play the whatever it is, but Really have some
Yeah.
that you know is safe, it's growing, it's doing, and build it.
I think that's one of the differences. That's one of the things that I had to teach myself. But when I was learning all of this, is that I grew up very poor, and I don't even love that word. But that's just there wasn't a lot. There was barely enough to get by,
Right,
right? So investing was not anything that my parents understood, taught me. I didn't know anything about it. The most investment I think I ever knew of when I was a kid was savings bonds, right? Because when everyone was born, you would get a savings bond.
right.
And then I remember when I was 18, I was allowed to cash in my savings bond. Like that was the big investment. So I, as an adult person, had to teach myself about investing because I think, at least in the States, that is a real difference in the classes, right? Is that the upper classes understand and teach their children about investing, and middle and lower class don't.
Absolutely. They teach their children to talk to money. They teach their children to appreciate money. They teach their children how to work with money. I would say to anybody, it doesn't, where you are now is no measure of where you're going to land up. But then you've got to start giving money goals. It loves goals and it loves destinations. If you start giving it destinations, you're actually going to see how smart you can get quickly. And quickly is important for many people. You're going to see all the ways in which you have too many takeouts, too many cigarettes, too many whatever it is. Whatever that is
Yes.
that you could put away, you will suddenly see it growing up instead of petering out. And you want to do
Yeah.
that. Then you start to make a little magic with it.
You have a theory about possibility thinking. Will you tell us about it?
Absolutely. Possibility thinking keeps the door open. For as long as you don't look at
Mm.
possibility, the doors can close very quickly. But if you have possibility thinking, it teaches your creative brain to switch on. It teaches you to go in the direction of your dreams. And it shows you very clearly the more you hold the door open, the more is not only able to come in, but the more you're able to step forward. And that's
Mm.
probably what makes me a little different to many people who work with constellations as well. They will look for the family pattern, and then we know what it is and we know how it needs to stop. For me, it's
Hmm.
all about and then what. And so I take people to the
Right.
and then what. And it's right there in front of them. 90% of the time you can see it. And when they get the and then what, they can get to their purpose much quicker, which means if we give money a place to go to, or they suddenly discover everybody in the family used to waste money, I'm going to be the one who accumulates it and I'm going to create abundance. Now you've just given yourself a whole purpose. And if you're really plugged into that, you're looking at it through that lens. And so you'll start to save differently, think differently, feel differently, act differently. And all of a sudden, you're the one that everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Possibility thinking as an entrepreneur is so important, I
It's
think.
huge.
Back in 2020, when the world shut down, and I've told this story on the show before, but it's relevant to this particular viewpoint in that, I postponed 14 weddings and canceled 4. So that was my entire income,
Oh,
uh, that was just put on hold. And so I had to go into possibility thinking to think, what else can I do with the only thing I have left, which is my time, right? And in that year, I launched a couple of courses. I did, a product called the Profitable Planner Bundle. And at the end of 2020, in a year where no one was able to work, I actually made more money than I had made in 2019
yes.
because
Yes.
I just kept thinking, like, what else can I
What
do?
can
What
I
else
do?
is possible? How else can I
Exactly.
serve the community? Like, what else is available here when so many things weren't? And I'm still really proud of that because I think I could have just hit under the covers, you know?
Yep.
Mhm.
I love that. So you and I have a similar thing. I got to 2020 and then publishing company said to me, "Well, you know what? We want you to write the book." And that was sounds true. They're wonderful. And the day after they said yes, and I got the proposal and the contract, my mom was diagnosed with cancer. And that
Oh
meant every
man.
3 weeks we were going to Dallas. It was a 2 hour drive every 3 weeks and in between. And I thought,
Wow.
and they said to me, you need to take about 6 months off and just write the book. You can't do any other work. I can't do that. I have a very busy coaching practice. And there was this going on and the book. And I learned in that year life happens. There is no perfect moment. You create those moments. And like you, so I wrote the book
Yeah.
in that year and we did the cancer walk. And I'm like, yeah, I look at it often, and people say, "What did you do during the pandemic?" And it's a lovely thing to be able to say, you know what, I didn't sit down and freak out and lose it. Probably because I couldn't afford to, but I didn't.
Yeah. So you wrote the book in that same 6 months time, or did you take a little bit
No,
longer?
I wrote the book in about that period of time. I think it may have been 7, but it was really just
Wow.
sinking into it and just focusing, focusing, focusing. And if you need
Mm,
to, you can. You will know this yourself. When all of that hit, you could have gone into a corner and freaked, which many people did, and got really badly hurt. Or it
yeah.
activates your resilience DNA. And here's the beautiful thing that people miss. Yours got activated. So if you have any women or anyone in your family who was beaten up in a business deal, or they were doing fine and then they couldn't anymore, you've just broken that because you went, I'm in the crossfire. Am I going to sink like they
Yeah.
did? I'm not doing that. And you went the other way. So you broke that for you and your kids.
Oh, well,
And
thanks.
their
Well,
kids.
no kids, but maybe my niece can
A
learn.
niece, no, a niece will learn from you. So will your community. They'll watch you and go, well, she didn't fall down, so I suppose we can't either.
Yeah. Yeah. And Judy, I love the story about writing a book because I am writing a book, and it occurred to me today when I woke today in the rain that I was like, today's a good day to write. And then I thought, Renee, every day has to be a good day to write if you're going to finish
You
this
learn that
book.
very quickly. That was the myth that was busted for me, I will say, that you have to have this
Yeah.
creative juice flowing. Forget it. You better make the creative juice flow. You do not have the
Yes.
luxury of a
Every
lotus blossom 6 inches off the floor. Make it happen.
Well, on that note, every day is a good day for writing a book. Every day is a good day for learning more about money, investing money, encountering, facing. That's not the right word, not encountering,
Loving.
but coming face to face with your money mindset and loving your money mindset. Yeah.
Yes. And loving money. It's a really, really, really good friend.
I just love I know it's, listen, I know that there's a moment in your brain that's going to be like, I'm talking to my listeners now, that's like, it's so simple. Fine. I love money. But there is something so powerful about that because for so long, especially for women, we've been taught what? Well, like generations ago, we didn't even have our own money.
Right.
Right? Now we have money, but we can't want it too much. We can't want to be rich because that's gross. You can't be too ambitious because no one likes those ambitious women. And that's all bullshit, frankly.
Yes.
But the idea of just
Yes.
loving money, just love it, you know?
Do you know what women can do with money? Do you know what we can all do with money? Do you know how much good and kindness we can flow? I- Here's the thing, people need to stop being wusses around money and have an adventure and get on and actually kick around money and show the world what's possible in a really, really good way. Money loves that. It's exactly why we have Disney. Money loves when people go there.
Yeah, it's true.
And in fact, one of the things,
It's
yeah, I
true.
teach people, if you want to see the best example of love and money, happiness and money, take a trip to Disney World.
Go to
They
Disney.
make money
Uh-huh.
on then they are busy making money on happiness every single day.
It's really true. I'm a Disney lover myself, so I totally get it. And I'm very, very grateful to live within, driving distance of Disneyland. It's my favorite place. I love it. Judy, where can people find you on the internet? Where can they work with you? Tell me all the
Sure.
things.
So, first of all, if they go to my website, which is judywilkins-smith.com, they're going to find the book, The Meditations. The money book isn't out there yet, but it may be coming soon. And then Spotify, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. I'm all over. And yes, if they want
Love
to
it.
talk to me directly, they can find me on my website. They will find the contact info. Yeah.
Great.
And then at live events, I'm doing a live event in April. That one is
Oh,
Relationship DNA, where you learn all about your relationships and why they do or don't work, can or can't work. And that's in Dallas. And then what we do is we
love that.
use 3D constellations so that people can see why it isn't working, what's happened, and how we turn it around. And those are usually really nicely attended.
Oh, I love a weekend where you just dig in. I love a
And I
retreat.
do it over
I'm like, I think we
weekends.
learn so much more powerfully in person. I really
Oh
do.
yeah, this
Mm,
in person, people come in one way, they go out very different another way. Because one of the things about constellations, somebody said to me, this is the first modality I've ever seen that pretty much guarantees an aha moment. And it does.
Wow. Well, here's to more aha moments, Judy. I'm here for it. You guys go find Judy on all the platforms. We will link to everything in the show notes. And thank you so much for your time. This was fantastic.
Anytime. It's fun to be with you. I hope that it gets drier there quickly.
Thank you. I hope my house does not float away down a river, down the LA River, because it's really we're recording this obviously the day we're having like torrential downpours, and you can kind of I wonder if you'll be able to hear it on the recording, but you can really hear it hitting the roof of my house.
Wow.
You can't hear it? Yeah. Good. Well, hopefully it won't be distracting.
I can't, unfortunately. I mean, well, I like rain, but yeah.
All right, friends. Well, thanks for spending your time with us, and go out there and elevate your money mindset. That's what Judy's all about. And I just think it's if you do no other self-development work this year, this work can really change everything for you. So go check out Judy, and I'll see you next week. Same time, same place. Bye for now, friends.